Thank you very much. It is not a big story. It is art. And I will dwell a good deal on just one aspect of the kind of activities, artistic activities, I have carried forward over the years. And it is this last experience with the Shakespeare play, Cymbeline. Dramatics is the artistic house that ornaments play, dance, song, and any other. Of course, to present a play, in order for a play to be beautiful, to be entertaining, to be educating, it will need skill, it will need emotion, and it may need also exaggeration, by the way. To exaggerate is not bad. In Arabic, there is something called al-balagha, which is an extreme lie, but beautiful language, normally, for anybody to appreciate the kind of text one is giving. And so I would want to say, maybe to go a little bit into description, I would say theater houses the tenets that describe the people, that tell the story of a particular selected audience. You could say, if you want to go further into this exaggeration of describing, you could say it is the vocalist that sings the songs for the dance, the general dance of life. And so maybe I would go further to say, in African oral literature, which is orature, described by Professor Makerere, the characters that populate the stories in folktales are animals normally. The hyena, the fox, and the hare. The hyena, of course, is that greedy character always who is brought forward to tell a story about grabbing something from somebody. And the hare is always the trickster who would want to disown somebody of his property. And then in the modern theater, the plays are the people. Characters are people who interpret the events that are in the play. But one thing that is important about both, whether you talk about Western theater or African theater, is that all these other characters and their events and their what are all telling about actual incidents in life. The hyena, for instance, is described with probably the neighbor who is a greedy man, and instead of calling him by name, you go to a hyena, let him discover himself alone, to say, this hyena looks like me, and so forth, actually. Now, coming to Cymbeline, we translated Cymbeline into Juba Arabic. We carried it to London. And we present it in African jewelry, African costume. We took South Sudanese culture to costume an English play on English soil for the first time. And I think some of our audience regarded it as an invention, actually. Because they thought, well, how could this young nation come up with this kind of mischievous, as described by The Guardian, mischievous play, and presented its culture here, and all the same won 4 stars out of 5. I think it was enough. Now the transportation of this culture, of this very young nation to Europe, presenting it on a stage, I think took most of that kind of blended audience by total surprise, because all the same, I think it was our European audience that applauded more what we did in London, and I think this was quite remarkable. Now, the 16 people, the 16 players who played Cymbeline in London, I would want to come and say they were from different ethnic communities in South Sudan. For instance, the 2 co-directors were the only representing their communities, the Mandari and the Balanda. And that is me and Derek. The rest were, if any community was lucky, probably it had only 2. And I think this was something that could resemble the effort that the Roots Project is carrying out here in Juba, bringing women from about 18 ethnic backgrounds to engross on creating art daily, 6 days a week. But also it reminds me of the 7 annual festivals that are organized at the Culture Center when I was the manager there. That the people who came and danced and sang and presented skits or plays were people who were from various and different backgrounds, but yet they produced that quality. And like these 16 people who went to London, in their variety of ethnicity, they behaved with one single-mindedness. They sang, they swore that we must go, whether with money or no money, we will take this play to London and we will do it and so forth. I think it was remarkable. Now, what probably could be asked here at this stage of talking is it not a good thing that art is sampling that togetherness that is needed in every nation, in every kind of country? If you would want to forge forward a nationalism of oneness, then probably the government would look very fixedly on what art is doing. And here, a particular case is, of course, the government of South Sudan. Now, when we went to London and we presented this play, I want to go to the final celebration that came as the second event on the 3rd of May. And it brought on stage very prominent personalities in British society, like the Director General of the British Council, if there is something called like this, but of course they're just the Director of the British Council. Because here, of course, in South Sudan, we are very familiar with Director General. And the Director of the Globe Theatre. And for your information, this Globe Theatre was created by Shakespeare himself. One of the, I think, an extreme genius in human history of literature, and who created the 37 plays that brought 37 countries to stand on the platform of the Globe Theatre to present. And this theatre of his was burned a number of times, but somebody called Warmaker from America raised funds all over the world and rebuilt it in the manner that is so unique all over. You can't find it in Europe, in the rest of Europe. You can't find it in Asia, anyway. But what I want to say is that the third celebration, brought on stage very prominent people, like Lady Baroness Cox, whom I think Sudanese know very well, to have come to fight people like Torabi, like Bashir, about the human rights and about slavery in the Sudan and so forth. She actually shed tears a number of times on the stage because she couldn't believe that these people who are tormented by a lot of bombing and a lot of challenges that were actually directed to stunt its growth as a young nation could still come to Europe and present that remarkable kind of thing. And she said, South Sudanese were very resilient people who would stop at nothing, no challenge, no difficulty would bar them from carrying forward, from doing what they thought was right to do. And I think this was a great thing from a British parliamentarian of the status of Baroness Cox, by the way. Now, I would want to say also one thing about this. One repeated word or the other aspect of celebration was the media that came and overflowed all over the place, taking all this. Of course, they were not allowed also, just like the law here in this room. No one was allowed to take photos just like that, except him, of course, and maybe. Now, the media all over the world, America, we could say anywhere, they applauded the youngest nation in the world that made the 193 member of the United Nations coming to Europe and doing all those wonderful things. Young nation, South Sudan. And I think today still you could go to the Jazeera, you could go to Al-Qara, you could go anywhere, you could go to CNN, you can still see the sparks of that kind of explosion that we made on the stage theater. Now, of course, the ultimate beneficiary who would be wearing this medal of the resilient young nation is certainly the government of South Sudan. And one then would come to ask me, what is the government of South Sudan doing about the arts that are actually assisting it in the march of nation building? Also, one would say, why can't the government of South Sudan come out and accept this medal of brilliance in Europe and acknowledge it openly that something great has been done for the identity of this young nation? One other thing that would be asked again is, of course, the drama includes the dance you find in every ethnic community. And you know, by the way, South Sudan has got 67 ethnic communities. Dancing dances in this variety. And of course, talking their languages, I will not want to mention, well, mine is smaller than Mandai. But I would want to say, there is something very important that a government and its people must put their fingers together in this manner so that they pray well for the betterment of their future. Thank you very much.